Under the radar. I didn't mean anything from that.
The microphones aren't working well, so she's got us pointing together.
Are you ready? Do I still need to wait for you? Angela? Miss Lawrence? Are you ready? I need to be waiting.
Yeah, I came for us for business. So.
Thank you, ma'am. Ready? You ready? Good evening. It's my pleasure to call the August 8th Dayton Town Council meeting to order at 6:02. I'd like to remind everybody that there is a sign-up sheet, which is now in my possession. So if there's anybody that wants to sign up, would you like to sign up to speak, ma'am? Each speaker would be limited to 5 minutes. All right, pursuant to Virginia Code Section 2.2-3708.2 and the town's resolution authorizing electronic participation in town meetings, Ms. Hoover is joining via Zoom tonight from Elizabethtown, Pennsylvania, as she is out of town on the personal emergency. Could I have a roll call, please, Ms. Hall?
Yes, Ms. Matthias. Present. Ms. Estes is absent tonight. Mr. Wall.
Here.
Mr. Dijak.
Present.
Mr. Seward.
Here.
Ms. Hoover.
Here.
Mayor Jackson.
Present. Please join me in prayer. Heavenly Father, we thank you for the opportunity to meet this evening. We ask that you protect the first responders and men and women of the military who protect us. We ask that you comfort the people of Ukraine as the Russians continue to bombard them. We pray in your name. Amen. Join us for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, and liberty and justice for all. We were happy to have Miss Ann Cundy, who is the Director of Transportation, back with us once again to go over their most recent survey.
I'm here, I'm the Director of Transportation. Planning District Commission, I also she is a new planner with the PD, and please welcome Ainsley. And then regional. For the night. And I will do this. I did not drop it, but at the request of our wonderful executive director, this is that we are still in part of the program. And that is to be rapidly reformed in 1969. is to encourage and facilitate regional solutions to problems of varying types. The biggest 5 counties, 5 of them, and okay. What are NGOs do in addition to meeting monthly with a technical advisory committee and a policy board of we collect and analyze and evaluate demographics to better understand one of our main responsibilities is to maintain and update the 25 plan. To document estimates for projects. And that is the requirement of the so long range plan creates this framework for development and really a part of the plan prioritize and those are 50 strengths. So we don't just look at the needs and we can trends years or so and use that to not look at that revenue. Not as we are just about halfway through the process and we will wrap up in May 2022. That's another thing that we have to do according to Federal Highway Administration. So we are on track in terms of meeting and our second big question for public use. Plan is multimodal, as we say in the transportation planning, modal covers all the car, walking, bike, biking, or taking. So in phase 1 of public engagement, which I came to talk about back in February, we had a public survey out in the West, and we heard from 600 engaged about their business, as well as documenting particular hotspots. Fire department intersections, safety, needed biking, facilities, more transit, all of that. And phase 2 of the plan now is deciding on a local project. We're calling that university. So everything that we are considering. I'm gonna sit here for just a minute with this process flow chart to illustrate that. That is to say that all of that along with a set of several data sets. Where are we? Where do we have gaps? Back to both.
Yes. Yeah, the very top.
Okay, I don't know if that's probably not helpful for those on Zoom, but we use that input to develop new projects, and we also pull in projects plans and stuff. And we then read all of those to make sure that they have been set. Are they going to be by and you may have heard of the part field program and project doesn't even that at the same time we're gonna make it all our way. And we need a document for us as well. And if we can move it over to a project for others. Okay. Problem, don't know what the right to do yet. We want to evaluate alternatives, see what. So part of phase two then, or then also both of those. Survey is open now, to finalize that project. For meeting our goals for the region, and with that. These are a couple of photographs from the survey. It is currently available in Spanish. A little bit behind on getting there. With translation. And again, this is really centered on where. So you get the second frame on the survey, and you see the blue dots on the map. And then there's not a lot of fun. Yeah, I love Decided to region, diagonally frame and most of the thing in Harrison River. For anybody who knows how to make it's not required. Start with the current slide. Yeah, thank you. And then finally on the final frame, we have a map. Great idea. Please study this. Don't study it. And or you've been open for a week. We are coming up on having received 100 responses already. This is very useful. That almost 600. Trying to pull somebody and we are not. But we are making use of all of these different communications. To get the word out about Dayton. To all of them. Periodic emails, there's later video about the content. Yes. Speaking like one. Great fun, Bill, way to go on the basement, quiet the drive. Great water this weekend. Play, play boat, down the lake, and then also here. Mission. And saying we why we're doing the thing about here is policy. One thing I do want to note, and this is specific for all three towns, and that is that all three towns are get all the same time, which makes it a little creepy, but that's part of what we're here for, you know. So we want to be sure before we had specific projects from the that there's nothing to say. We can't do it's also incredibly that I am happy to answer any questions.
If I could just add a note to council, we did put a little bit of information about Pam being here, the business newsletter that went out last week, e-news. And we will be sharing. Some of the social media. She sent out a social media for last week to help us test that out. So we will keep people informed of this. I also want to just give Ian and Kinsley kudos today. They came in a couple of hours early to meet with us on the comp plan, and then they agreed to go on a ride with us on Everett for holders first and buggy, so that they could and I could really understand the challenges that we had. So we've been on 257 outside with been around the bakery, came up, went over to the market, crossed over all those lanes of traffic, and crossed back on Mason down Main Street and Mosley, even though it was outside of town, but not the original transportation. It's amazing. Aren't gonna kill out there. And Kristen said when she saw us go by the window, I was holding on for dear life. It was an open buggy. And when you go off the road on those things and drop down a few inches, it's a little unnerving. So, but we really appreciate him. He's willing to take some other people, council members, on those. But I appreciate EDC's that everything give us information. Understanding our local issues better.
Have a GoPro with them.
It allows us to take a picture and post that just to show.
Yeah.
There's plenty of approach. She was also saying as a comment, so college, that intersection was already in the comp plan, and it will kind of certainly get carried back over to the comp plan as a concern. But yeah, that's more of a local level that she's talking about.
How did you just, no, I think the points well taken, and I think, we'll certainly be having those conversations, at the planning commission. And that's what I'm thinking as the liaison for council. And we, I know Angela and Krista have been working on prepping that with the agency. And so, we'll certainly take those things into account. The buggy safety note, to your point, that actually has been brought up, and I think the council, we included that in our CIP, capital improvement program as well, as a future project. Of course, there's a lot of labor that needs to go in, for that. We've also talked about trails, sidewalks and the like. So that's maybe where we can take that local approach and tie it into a more regional, context, kind of like what they're suggesting here, the long range transportation plan. So kind of building blocks here, but they all kind of spurs and intermesh. So the idea at the end is to be able to have these plans kind of on the same page and be able to leverage that funding, grant funding through the state for some of those.
And those conversations have also been had with the Virginia Department of Transportation.
I'd be remiss without saying, and with Rockingham County too, with our esteemed supervisor here.
Any other questions for Ms. Gunn? As always, thanks for coming out. We appreciate it.
Thanks.
Thank you.
See you, TA.
Yep, I just put that on my phone. And I would like to introduce our special guest, Miss Sally Wolf Garrison, who has joined us this evening. She is the Chair of the Board of Supervisors and also our liaison with the county. I need a motion to approve the minutes for the regular council meeting of July 11th.
So moved.
Rob,
Second.
and Mr. Dijak. Do we have any amendments to the minutes? Roll call, please, Ms. Hall.
Right, Mr. Walls,
Aye.
Ms. Mathias. Aye. Mr. Seward,
Aye.
Mr. Dijak,
Aye.
Ms. Hoover,
Aye.
Mayor Jackson.
Aye. Motion passes. Thank you. We have no action items this evening. That doesn't happen very often. We're at that public comment section, and I'm surprised to see Ms. Deb Crank on the list.
That was a surprise. Good evening, Mayor and council members. Just wanted to update you about the Christmas in July event. It was the hottest day, I believe, of the year. Maybe not the best to have a Christmas party, but we survived. Merchants were very positive with folks coming to the town. The event was an opportunity for at least my tea party, moms and dads to go out and shop at shops that they never been. So I received a lot of feedback. I did have, these princesses were coming and going. I think we have, I believe, 17 princesses. And I have a special story to share. But sometimes I think maybe people wonder why I do all this stuff for free and just run around like a chicken with my head cut off for the town and its people. But a young lady came in, named was Charlotte. She was very, very shy. I mean, and her dad was her, came with her. And I said, "Oh, are you ready for the tea party?" I don't think she knows what she's up to. So throughout the party, she picked a strategic seat, kind of at the very end, so there wouldn't be too many other princesses. And she said, "Here, and I was watching." Even my husband, who had to serve the hot tea, said, "I don't believe she said anything the whole time." But her smile got bigger and bigger. And when she left, I'm quite proud. She hugged me with thank you. And it made my day. So don't ever forget what we do for our town. It's only one little princess who went to her very first tea party and had a wonderful time. It was just, yeah. And then all the other princesses, and I had a great grandma trying to peek in the door. So I literally drug her in, set her walker aside and got a picture with our princess Elsa and her great granddaughter who attended the tea party. So it was just a really sweet day. The group is moving on to our most famous, and I'll always call it Dayton Day because it just takes up too many of my 5 minutes to say autumn celebration. But we're moving on to Dayton Days, and then guess what? It's the seasonal event. So more to come as the groups come together. And thank you for continued support our merchants and our.
Thanks for your words, Ms. Crank. Then we'll move into staff reports, and we'll start with Ms. Lawrence.
All right, my staff report is on page 7 of a very small packet. We do have a new intern that comes from JMU, he's a senior in public. Administration. He's going to be doing the, he's going to be doing primarily the inventory. Just got an email from him tonight that he's almost done with a lot of the GIS. He's taken our info and overlaid pinpoints for all of the buildings in the historic district, and then matching that up with GIS, and then he's gonna start taking photos. So the GIS will tell square footage and all that, then he's gonna take photos of the outsides of the buildings, like windshield inventory kind of thing, and that will all be in the report that we do in conjunction with the town revitalization. So to tell us what things are zoned now, but whether you of course we have some things that are zoned that are residential now. Actually, Maggie got us some drone footage of an overview, and we did notice that some buildings were starting to break this repair. So we'll be notifying the owners. I don't know if they know it or not, but it's scary ropes, at least one of them. So anyway, happy to have Chris here. He did volunteer for packet pickup and the muddler as well. So he'll be doing some other things that are more within his line of what he's studying, but the main thing is he's going to be working on the downtown revitalization. What you really care about, I'm sure, is the water plant upgrades, you know, Krista, if we can get it up or not. Oh, look at that. So we have the webcam, that's a current view, and you can see the building with the reddish brick, reddish block. Give me the cursor over to the new building. Oh, you're trying to get it bigger. There you go. So you can see they, I don't know that they did any more today. That looks about the same as it was Friday. But, you can see they're making great progress over there. They just started the building, I think last Monday or Tuesday. And, so we should be moving right along. By September, we'll be able to put the roof up or get things going. And you probably saw the trusses are already in. So we're making great progress on that. You will notice that we have one change of order. And that is that they originally programmed in for vinyl siding on the gable ends, two gable ends. That's a huge maintenance issue for us in the long run. You know, technical this is. So we have the option to look at a couple different things. One was hardy plank and indeterminate color, and the other was just taking this block all the way back up. The initial estimate we got was an additional $19,000, but the engineer's working on and bring that down a little bit with using different size block. It's not needed to do the same thing as the structure stuff. So it's something we can save a few $1,000, but we had budgeted, had a little bit of cushion in the budget, so I don't think I need council approval on that one. Then I did update the finance committee and the infrastructure committee on that already, and they all agreed that probably block is the same color would be better. You wouldn't believe how many different color schemes we have to match between doors and louvers and outdoor equipment and the roof. And nothing is a standard color, so we're trying to also minimize how many new colors, considering the old building and tank are different color beiges. So that's kind of why we went with the red, but not one way we were trying to match something but what the building's description. So I think it's going to be good. It's sheltered, as you know, by a lot of trees, or buffered by a lot of trees. I can see a whole lot of it, but it's going to be very durable. I'm going to let the infrastructure committee deal with the road resurfacing, but as you know, the roads have been resurfaced. We understand not everybody's happy. So I reported, well, I wasn't here last time, but it was reported that the ARPA funds have not been received by the end of this year. They have been received now. They're in the bank. We're gonna talk. Bank and that stuff. We do not need to amend the budget because we had our revenue and our expenses offsetting each other in last year's budget. So for auditing purposes, that will carry over. So I think that's about it for my report, unless anybody has any questions. Oh, I will say on page 2 of my report, which is page 8, I did update the capital projects based on this year's budget, and for rather than saving anybody else, I put, and he didn't even ask me. I put the CIP numbers that we use ahead of the description. So we're going to get into that one. So these are the things that were either budgeted or carried over that we're working on. So let me know if you have any questions on that. Oh, I will tell you that the generator has been ordered. There was a significant price increase from last year to this year in capital expense, and we'll be able to move money from one capital expense to the next and still be fine in the capital fund. But as you know, and I think we're going to face this as the year goes on, everything. Because you know, we start doing the budget in February, so our budget figures came from last fall, and especially for things like generators and construction stuff. So I'm just thankful we got a lot of for that budget. But anyway, let me know if you have any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. And I'll interject just a little bit for what we're discussing with the change order. Both the infrastructure and finance committee, you know, we decided we're spending all this money on block building. It didn't make any sense to be having maintenance issues, you know, 15 years down the way, we're going to start painting things, stuff like that. So the decision was to just make the entire building maintenance free, and it'd just be much better long term. Thank you, Angela. And we'll go to Susan for our treasurer's report.
Mayor and council, I have nothing else to add to my report. So unless you have questions. And when Susan, if you don't mind, Susan gives a number of cutoff notices, almost all these are paid. So last year. Last month, yeah. Last month. So when you see how many cutoff notices are. Take care of that.
And a lot of those people are repeat offenders month after month after month. All right, Chief Trouts, we could have the police department report.
Mr. Mayor, Council, it was a good month. I'll highlight a couple things. All officers completed the active shooter training that we partnered with, Harrisburg Police Department with. Lieutenant Hooker and I instructed the training. I had reached out to the sheriff a while back about doing a warrant suite. And he liked the idea of bringing a town officer in with the sheriff's department. And they spend the day just trying to serve active warrants. So just to reiterate for the numbers that are on there, they calculated the entire county of Rockingham. So 58 warrants were served, 29 arrests, and 2 search warrants were executed in one day during the suite. So it was a pretty good day. That's all I got for you.
Thanks, sir. Appreciate it.
Yeah, no, that's.
Well, National Night Out was August. So, but I'll talk about that. It was a good event, very successful. We had more people this year than we did last year. It was, again, well received. People enjoyed themselves. A lot of fun. But that's for next month's, of course, since August.
And Ms. Lawrence for Public Works.
Sure, Public Works report, I hope you appreciate the graphic on the bottom is on page 12, now it's getting very creative. This report doesn't do justice to what they had done, and they had Mother on a Tuesday, I'm sorry, National Night Out on a Tuesday night, and Mother on the following Saturday this evening. That's a lot of setup, coordination, anything to promote. They really have worked hard. They did get community service and inmates and help with some of that stuff. And some people worked, other events, so. And then I think they have coming back this week to help take step. But for the most part, our public works, in a super situation. But so he was here, they worked 6 o'clock Saturday and then they were back at it. Kudos to the public works staff and the police department who did a great majority of the national night out operation. Anyway, that's the rest of his report that doesn't do justice what they really did do.
You did such a great job on that. You may as well just go on the water.
Yeah, again, a nice graphic. Water department, it's on page 13. Questions on that? I will say that, pump 2 over on the, service pump for the water treatment plant, which will continue to be used after that. So that's been non-functioning for a while, which was really overworking pump 1 and 3. And either of those were going to refine the product that they're looking at. So we ordered that much to the tune of $9,300 some odd. Right now, we're planning on taking that money out of consulting with the construction money out of materials and supplies. Like, you know, put that in the back of your mind that I might come back later in the year and ask for contingency funds because of that expense. If you don't have it in the back of your mind, put it back there.
Thank you, Ms. Lawrence. Ms. Hall for Community Development.
Reported on the packet and.
Thank you, Ms. Hall. And Ms. Lawrence for Economic Development.
And Megan hasn't really been doing much lately. She's working on the downtown revitalization plans and assisted a little bit, especially with marketing. National Night Out, we did some separate postcards on it, because we were all aware of it. She did the newsletter and the business newsletter, and then all of them were. So, kudos to Maggie. I can't tell you, I know I said this last year, but she would go home at 4:30 to maybe one of them, and then it's gone. Places at 4. Supposed to work back at the company. She just gets things done and very organized. It's pretty much appreciated. Are there any questions on any of those reports? Street sweeping has been postponed. We have, yes, so we put it on Facebook and we sent out an alert on the website. Unfortunately, there's a switch that's not working correctly and that didn't come out last week, and they also are still trying to get other obstacles out of private property. Like that, so we will post as soon as it's done. There are some muddy streets. We probably will not be sweeping this month, the newly resurfaced streets, because they need to cure for 4 to 6 weeks before that slurry is properly cured. So we're hoping for a good rain tonight that we'll get some of that mud off, but may know we reversed the course of mother this year, which meant one of the first obstacles was the mud pits there. Which meant the rest of the course was pretty muddy in the water and the ice afterwards. So we're gonna rethink that again next year. But yeah, that the pit behind Park Food doesn't smell good. And there are no active cows in that field, but that water's coming from somewhere that has cattle or manure spreading or something. But yeah, I would do it. But there was a woman older than me and larger than me going through that mud.
Yes, she
Have you ever done that before? And she said, "Oh, we did it last year." I said, "And you think that?" There was like a group of people. Whatever floats your boat, man. I'm happy to take pictures. Anyway, thank you.
Yeah, she made it over that first wall too, right off the bat.
Yeah.
Mr. Jordan, good to have you, sir.
Good to be here, nothing to report.
Even better.
There you go.
Close up.
You'll hear from me later.
Yes, we will. All right, we're going to committee reports with Mr. Dijak for Economic and Community Development.
Sir, just a couple quick updates. We'll be meeting later this week on Thursday and cover a couple items like dates, sign in. Well, I think making it pretty much have that on autopilot anyway, but we'll weigh in on that. Also downtown revitalization, Angela mentioned that earlier, but just a reminder that the public kickoff is next Tuesday, August 16th at 5:30.
Yep.
The plan is to do it at sunset, and food will be provided.
Right, and whether you're a business owner, just community, or, affiliated, or just a resident who's passionate about our little town, that this is a good opportunity to come out, get involved and have your say, and this is a really exciting opportunity with the grant, and kudos to staff for getting that acquired, and we're gonna make some things happen, so thank you for that, and again, thanks to the merchants for organizing Christmas in July, and looking forward to all the future events coming up.
Just a note on the reason we're doing it at sunset, it's at 5:30, right?
Yes.
Commuters, like, a lot of them like to stop off on the green ones, so then once you get home, they get logged down, it's hard to get back out. And, but we recognize that we want to hear from young people, so if we do it at sunset, kids can play, we can feed everybody. So it'll be much normally, probably, but we will have some display board, likely we'll send out a postcard later this week of all long range transportation. Or I'm sorry, the comp plan meeting on Thursday. just to make sure everybody saw those.
And Mr. Dijak for finance.
We're good, so we met last Thursday, went over a couple of items that are close out and the water treatment plant change order that Ms. Lawrence and Mayor had already covered. And that talking about a couple other capital projects as well, and just some of the cost escalations that are pending and trying to work through some of those. I do want to give credit to Ms. Smith and Ms. Lawrence for coming up with a wonderful cash flow projection model that is going to be very helpful in working out through, especially the water treatment plant project, but also help us as we move forward with some of the other capital projects that were adopted in this specific programs. Thank you for that.
You know, as Ms. Lawrence said earlier, we start our budgeting process so early, and with these increases that we're seeing, they're not going away anytime soon. So what we talked about is moving forward, whatever that quote that we have right now, we're gonna, depending on what it is, you know, it might be as much as 25% increase that we're putting in the budget just to make sure that we can cover these things. And when you start seeing increase of 40% on items, I mean, it's, you know, certainly detrimental to the budget that you've already prepared. And Mr. Stewart, I know you have a lot down there for infrastructure.
We did meet last week, of course, with the change orders and stuff for the water plant. Lawrence has already covered. I'll just bring up, I know there's a lot of residents that are not real happy about the slurry and gravel overlay that's been going down by VDOT. We understand, we don't own the streets, so we don't have a lot of control over it. On a couple of streets, I think Angela's had some conversations because there is a lot more traffic than others, horse and buggies especially, that chip it up. So we are working on it. But mill and overlay is just not a budgetary option for VDOT right now. So this is the best we're gonna get until I guess things change, which really don't see happening by the way they're talking. But we are working on a couple of the major streets that get more of the agricultural traffic and is considered a through there by VDOT. So we are listening. It's just our hands are tied, so.
And I'll just add, in terms of VDOT scheduling, this was scheduled and budgeted a couple of years ago. They told us which streets they were hoping to do this fiscal year. And once VDOT gets, once they get something on their schedule a couple of years ahead of time, it doesn't really change a lot. So we have been advocating hard and educating hard on the Westview area. That's a designated truck route. It's got a lot of farm traffic. It's got horse and buggy. So that street has not fared as well as the other street they did the same time. In fact, I sent him pictures of the new service just coming up. Their solution was they'd already had a program to do the rest of Westview the way they did, and to redo last year's Westview servicing the same way in August. But I believe they now understand in my conversations with VDOT that there are some roads that are more appropriate for that resurfacing. So the subdivision cul-de-sacs or just local traffic only need to be treated different than the heavy traffic or heavy equipment roads. So, you know, College is the primary road, Main Street, all those get mill and paved. So there might be a couple other roads in town we really need to push hard, even if they're not classified the same as College. Other resurfacing, but I think that's what we can expect for the subdivision. Smaller traffic count roads.
And we'll stay right with you, Mr. Stewart, Parks, Recreation and Beautification.
I talked enough on infrastructure. We didn't meet on Parks and Rec.
And Ms. Matthias for Personnel.
Can I just add for anybody? who
You
saw,
certainly may.
We're postponing, I don't think it's even been added to the calendar yet, Chris, we're postponing the first round committee that was scheduled for tomorrow at 8 o'clock. We will post it and advertise it 3 days. Find the date. The police committee has also been postponed from this week to next. It might be 2 weeks, so anyway, neither of those meetings scheduled.
Ms. Matthias.
Yes, we met on Friday, July the 29th, and we purposely met to just discuss what the current policies were in continuing education for staff, which the action items. for Council, but it just gave us some clarity on what's out there as a policy and how that matches up with our budget to make sure we stay in line with everything. But no action item.
Thank you very much. And Miss Hoover, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Great.
On the,
Yeah, we have not met. As Angela said, we are going to be meeting with the police committee here in the next couple of weeks. I just want to commend Chief Trout and the rest of the staff for everybody that planned, prepped, executed National Night Out. I think it was a great event. A lot of people from the community there. And so, yeah, really, really proud of the work that went into that.
thank you, Miss Hoover. I have a couple comments. As they've already said, National Night Out, great success. We saw more people this year than we did last year. Last year, even though we had a great crowd, we had a lot of people afterwards said, well, I didn't know anything about it. So we did do the postcards that we mailed out to everybody. So that did bring more people out. Everyone there had a great time. We had fantastic weather. So it really was, talking about, smiles on children's faces. That's what it's all about. And we also got great coverage in the newspaper for that event as well. The muddler, again, the muddler and the Dayton Days are my two favorite events that we do. And when you bring that many people into the town and hear the positive comments from people being their first time, and I asked a lot of the heats that were coming through because I was at the starting, how many people is your first time in Dayton? And it was an awful lot of people that it brought into our town that have never been here before. So that's always great to see. And as Miss Lawrence said, Chris Hurt, our intern, I got to spend the afternoon and evening with him doing the check-in for the muddler. A great young man, willing to do whatever needs to be done. He was there again early on muddler, doing check-in again that day. So we're fortunate to have him, and he's done a lot so far. And again, these events cannot happen without the volunteers that we have. And we are so fortunate to have people who are willing to step up and do it. And and I've said this many times, our team does a fantastic job in planning these. They work extra hours and do it. Public Works was out there early in the morning. It was hot, it was humid. After everybody else was gone, Public Works was still there taking stuff down. So, kudos to Angela and her team, because every time we have one of these events, they step up and make sure that's done well. Any other council comments? Thanks, sir. We have no unfinished business. Do we have any new business to discuss? And at this point, we will be going into closed session. And since we have a member that is on Zoom, we will have to ask everybody to depart the room. Thank you, everybody, for coming.
Say what's-
I'm going to.
Before they.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Thank you, Jordan. We'll now go to closed session, and as we have Ms. Hoover attending via Zoom, we will remain in council chambers and ask that everyone not included in the closed session to please exit the room. We don't participate, and by the way, this is very long. The closed session convenes, so we can just return to take our certification and adjourn the meeting. However, you are welcome to stay outside and return if you would like. For our virtual audience, we will ask that you end your meeting now, or you will be placed in a waiting room outside of the meeting until the conclusion of the closed session. All that being said, I need a motion to convene into closed session for the following matters. A, pursuant to Virginia Code Section 2.2-3711A8 for consultation with legal counsel employed or retained by the town regarding specific legal matters requiring the provision of legal advice by such counsel. The subject matter of the closed session is specific legal matters related to 2 parcels of real property within the town. B, pursuant to Virginia Code Section 2.2-3711A3 for discussion or consideration of the acquisition of publicly held real property for a public purpose or disposition of publicly held real property where discussion in an open meeting would adversely affect the bargaining position or negotiation strategy of the public body. The subject matter of the closed session is for a discussion concerning the shared driveway and right-of-way located at 728 Mason Street. and pursuant to Virginia Code Section 2.2-3711A1 for discussion of the resignation of a specific town employee. Thank you. Do I have a second? Mr. Seward, second. Roll call, please, Ms. Hall.
All right, Mr. Seward.
Aye.
Ms. Mathias.
Aye.
Ms. Hoover.
Aye.
Mr. Wall. Mr. Dijak.
Aye.
Mayor Jackson.
Aye. Thank you, everybody, for attending. If you'd like to wait, we'll welcome you back in.
Care.
I need a motion to adjourn the closed session.
So
Susan got that. Second. Mr. Dijak,
I'll take the second.
with respect to the just concluded closed session, in the best of each member's knowledge, only public business matters lawfully exempted from open meetings required under the Freedom of Information Act, and only such public business matters as were discussed in the motion by which the closed meeting was convened were heard, discussed, or considered in the meeting by the council. Can I get a roll call, please, Ms. Hall?
Yes, Mr. Seward.
Aye.
Mr. Wall. Ms. Hoover.
Aye.
Ms. Mathias.
Aye.
Mr. Dijak.
Aye.
Mayor Jackson.
Aye.
I need a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Dragging back into it. I'm sorry, who did that?
Bob got the motion.
Bob and
Mr.
Rob.
Seward.
Nobody.
Uh,
doing it.
I
I
know.
know, yeah. Well, you were right. I was wondering.
I
In
wasn't
fairness,
gonna
we did
do it.
not
I
play-
was waiting. I was like, I'm gonna
Right.
see who picks up on
I-
that
I
one.
don't-
This has already got her stuff.
Oh, I did too.
I'm like,
We are adjourned.
And we did not plan that.
No, you need a- No, okay.
I already know about.
Yeah.
All right, sir. Hey, safe travels.
There's no.
Y'all afraid of the water?